Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the one and only HipHopGamer, Hot 97, Logitech G. It's real right now. It's real. You know it's real when I bring the chain out. You know it's real when I spin the chain. You know it's real when I bring the belt out. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta spin the belt. Shout out to my grandma and my son. You know what I'm saying? On the belt. Now listen, it's not every day you get a chance to talk to legendary greatness, all right? So, before I even say his name, we gonna start it like this. At one point in time, he was the QA lead over at EA, Electronic Arts. Also, he was the executive producer over at Midway Games. Also, the director of production over at Capcom. Oh my God, that's a crazy resume. The vice president, third-party relations at Developer Technology Group over there with PlayStation. You see my hat with PlayStation. And now, the ultimate, the one and only, the new CEO of Iron Galaxy Studios, my dude, my brother, the one and only Adam Boy. What's going on, baby?
Dude, that was fucking amazing. Holy shit. Yo, I don't even know how to follow that up. Wow. Humbled to be here. Super happy to be here, man.
I love you, bro, man. So first off, let's get right into it, man. Before we even started recording, you was already talking about being a music supervisor over at Midway Games, the other things that you did. Talk about it, bro. Before we get into the official questions, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
People need to know that, like, we got a history, and I know a lot of people who may know you as just the corporate guy working behind the scenes. They don't know you that, like, yo,
the suit douche, right?
Yeah. Oh, I like the suit douche. They don't know you as just a regular dude that loves games, that work hard, and good friends. You know what I'm saying? They don't know that side. So let them know about your humble, your humble beginnings, man.
Yeah, sure, man. It's funny because, like, I love that we were able to chat because we've only ever talked about video games and PlayStation, all that cool stuff, and through. I mean, we've known each other for many, many years through the Midway and Capcom days, but it's funny. I love that we're chatting about hip hop because, I was just from a small town in Canada called Abbotsford, and I joined the Columbia Record and Tape Club in the late 80s. And so in that club, you had to basically sign up to get certain tapes sent to you. And one of the first ones I ever got was Rap Tracks Volume 1. And so that was the shit that basically, like, Rap Tracks, what I did is if you look back at your search history of the very first internet search you ever did, Rap Tracks Volume 1 was the origin for all of my current day sort of hip hop love and knowledge, because that track listing, right? It was Tone Loc, it was DJ Jazz F, it was Houdini, it was Salt and Peppa, it was Run DMC, it was Public Enemy. And so I didn't have back then, like, you didn't have the internet search shit. And in Canada, we only had Much Music, and they were not doing a lot of hip hop in the late 80s, right? That was sort of just purely Run DMC, Beastie Boys. That's sort of all you got, right? Just sort of more mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
So I used the Columbia Record and Tape Club to be my, like, sort of seeding for then let's buy all those albums. I'm buying Slick Rick, right? I'm driving down, convincing my parents to drive me down to Seattle to cop the Slick Rick album because I couldn't get it in Canada because it was only the edited version. Eric B. and Rakim, like, just trying to basically find all these awesome albums. And sort of that was the impetus for my love for hip hop. And then I knew that I wanted to, not just be a farm town boy. So that's when I started honing my beatbox skills.
Well, hold on. Don't tell me you could beatbox, bro. Because I'm telling you, because my name is hip hop. So anything that you do is gonna get me crazy excited, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll demo that a little bit later. But of course I do.
Yo, let me find
out. Right. So anyway,
let's go.
I went all the way in, like, whether it was the Fat Boys and sort of all the cheesy stuff as it went sort of mainstream, and then sort of all the tendrils moved out to other stuff. And it culminated, I was mentioning to you before we started recording, it culminated in when I was at Blitz, I got to be the music supervisor and producer for Blitz the League. And so I was able to go back to all of the sort of artists and stuff like that I loved growing up and start reaching out to their managers and getting them to do custom tracks for us. And so, on that album, we got Fat Lip, right? From Far Side.
Yep. Far
we got Fun Doobie from Funk Dubious. We got Nonfiction on there. We had the Beat Nuts, who is, like, to this day,
the Beat Nuts, man.
just
Come on,
one of the fucking greatest
Yeah.
greatest beat makers of all time.
Hands
We got
down.
Be Real, DJ Lethal from House of Pain. So it was amazing too, because at the time, John Vignacchi, who's now over at Nintendo, he was the music supervisor on NBA Ballers. So when him and I found that we both had the shared love for hip hop, we took to the streets, and I got some wild stories about us going to shows and meeting the artists. We got to hang out with Twista, Akon, De La Soul had just gotten back together, and wild stuff, just like in Akon's dressing room and his limo, or one of my friends is hitting on his sister. I'm like, what? We shouldn't be doing this, dude. So yeah, all this stuff got me going down memory lane and listening to playlists for all the games and music that we chose, because it was such a fucking big part of my growing up, and then being able to express that with a soundtrack. And one of my sorting mechanisms, to me, Blitz kind of meant it wasn't just about hip hop, right? It was more about hip hop and rock and sort of the amalgamation. Football to me represents sort of Americana, but also sort of hip hop together. And so my inspirational album was Judgment Night, which to me is one of the greatest sort of crossover. It was a soundtrack to a movie, and that was when we had all the big crossovers between sort of rock and hip hop. And so that was the inspiration. And the rule was I had to listen to every song at least 200 times. And if it didn't get stuck in my like an earworm, then it wasn't fit for the game. Because when the game's playing and that music's going, you have to be able to listen to it hundreds of times, or else it's not for you. So yeah, man. So that was a little TLDR of my history and love for hip hop. So
yo, that's amazing, bro. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Also I'm a partner with Def Jam Records.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Off camera, we gotta talk more. There's
a
lot going on, Adam, that we could do together. And I would love to be able to bring value to Iron Galaxy Studios on a whole nother level.
Yeah. Well, what we do at Iron Galaxy? We do fighting games, man. So Def Jam and fighting games. There's a lot of history there.
So in terms of Def Jam, with Fight for New York and stuff like that, there's a lot there. And then also in terms of Twitch and what they just announced today with Soundtrack, I'm also a partner with T-Pain and his movement with Nappy Boy Gaming.
Nice.
I also was helping out Dipset, Jim Jones doing their gaming thing. There's a lot off camera.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Bro,
let's jam.
I really want to rock with you, man. So let's get into this, bro. Let's get into this, man. So you just said it. Like literally, my first question was like literally what you just said. In terms of the moment you go to the Iron Galaxy Studio website, you see Killer Instinct right there. Yeah. Like you see all the fighting games, you see all the games that y'all worked on. So what I wanted to ask you is, when you see Killer Instinct, Crash, Fallout, like all the support that y'all provide for other gaming companies, from porting to full game development, support and all this, break that down. What is that like for Iron Galaxy Studios?
Yeah, man, it's a lot, because we've got 170 people now as of this week. We've actually hired 30 people during the pandemic, which is wild. It's been incredible, and anyone that joins us during this super hard times, I have so much respect for them, because everyone's going through so much in the world, and the fact that they're joining us and sort of nodding their cap to what we do is pretty amazing. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So we do full game development, where we're maybe building the original IPs and stuff like that, or owning the development cycle like we did with KI season 2 and 3. Then there's the porting business that we do. Some of that times we work with, like when we worked on Blizzard with Diablo 3, or with the Overwatch Switch port, or like you talked about Crash and Spyro, for the PC version. And then other times we're just doing sort of more of the technical work and help, like we did with Fallout 76 and stuff like that. So at any one time, we're rocking with about 10 to 14 different projects. People are working in different sizes across all of those things. But the cool thing is, while doing that, we're getting better and learning a lot about a bunch of different games. But it also makes us impervious almost to financial crises. So when Telltale went out of business, for example, we were working on the 7 Days to Die port for consoles, but then they declared bankruptcy and left us high and dry. They ended up laying off 265 people, which totally sucked. But we had a bunch of people working on it too. But because of the way we're sort of structured, we're able to sort of take all those employees and put them on other projects without having any layoffs. And so that's really important to us, is like we have to build a company that is super sustainable, and also working on the best and brightest. The other thing that's a little bit different for me is when you're working as a support studio, you're not front and center. So it's not like you're announcing, a Shenmue Kickstarter on stage or any of that stuff. You're much more of a sort of a partner with the publishers and the developers. And so that's been a bit of a change for me, but we love it, because like there's so many things right now, like behind the scenes, that we can't talk about that we're working on, but we're touching so many of the franchises in the industry right now. It's pretty amazing. It's just not something that we can go out and be like, yeah, we did that, because we want to be respectful to our partners. They're building it. We're just helping them build it. You know what I mean? And then on the original stuff, obviously, we're always cooking up some new ideas and new concepts and new prototypes. And that stuff will come out when it comes out and get announced when it gets announced. But we're always cooking on that stuff too.
See, what I love about what you're doing, you're kind of like the medic on the battlefield.
Yeah, your support. It's totally support.
Like,
yeah,
literally. So
totally.
But what I love about that is that everybody that works for Iron Galaxy Studios, and listen, everybody, please pay attention to what, because you know my interviews is different. My interview is definitely different. So pay attention, because I want y'all to get a lot of information out of here. So the thing is, what I love about what you're doing is that you're grooming so much talent to do everything, so they can always have a job, always have a career, always be leaders. And I love that your platform within the studio is designed to make sure everybody is well versed. So it's kind of like the way I operate. I'm not just an influencer. You know how they always call influencers?
Yeah.
So I'm like the Amazon of influencers. So
I love it. I love it. So true.
I could do
merch the whole time.
Exactly. So I could do an interview with you. That's one. But I'm also a character in NBA 2K Playgrounds 1 and 2. I'm also a hip hop artist, so I make songs for video games. I also have gaming and guidance, where I reach the kids and help them get into gaming and help them in life. So it's like,
so it creates a stability, because it's about a portfolio play versus putting all your eggs in one basket. And we've seen, like, we've been in business now 12 years, totally independent. We've never had a layoff due to financial issues. And that is unheard of, especially at sort of our size and scale. And I'm very proud of it. It's because of what Dave Lang, our founder, and Chelsea Blasco, who's our COO, have sort of thought from the get-go of how do we build something that is sustainable. And it's very, like you said, when you have all that versatility, it creates that stability. And that's why we never have more than like 25% of our staff on one single project, because we've seen that happen. We've seen a studio lose a massive project, and all of a sudden, boom, 50% of staff gets laid off. And that's just a scenario we don't want to go through. We want to be always having a safe place for our employees to work at.
Amazing, man. So my next question is this. What's the goal of the company overall? Like, what determines success for you?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. When Dave founded it, his vision statement was to make amazing games with his best friends till we retire together. That was it.
Listen, I'm telling you right now in this interview, I want in. I gotta be able to. I'm not a game developer, but I do have value somewhere. Like, I want in somewhere. That is incredible. That is a dream.
Yeah, it is the dream, absolutely. But at the same time, when you talk to other people, they kind of roll their eyes because they're like, "Oh, that cool story, bro." But I'm like, it really is about building an awesome workplace. Like, when we think about our company values, the first one is people, right? We're always trying to get better and evolve, like our benefit packages and all that stuff, to make sure we're listening to people. You know, we did after the horrific George Floyd murder, we rallied the team together. We were able to raise over $17,000, and then the company added another $100,000 to donate to a bunch of different entities across Orlando and Chicago, both locally and nationally, and NAACP and the BLM movement, stuff like that, to just try to support, because again, we're a company for our team and our people, and that's super important to us. So we always want to make sure we're supporting what they're concerned about, and also trying to make their lives better.
Wow, bro. Like, I mean, I love you before. I love you even more now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm talking about, man. And this is what I wanted people to see. Like when you come to a HipHopGamer interview, I want people to see the person, the human, all the other fun stuff and console wars about. That's fun. We talk about that too. But I want them to see you for who you are. You know what I'm saying, Adam? So next question, bro. And I got a major hip hop joint for you coming later on in this interview.
Okay, I love it.
You're gonna love. All right. So now the next question is this: when you did the Capcom deal, with PlayStation and Street Fighter and stuff like that, like it was only for PlayStation and PC, but you came out specifically and was like, look, this, don't ask me again. It's not coming to Xbox. It's for PlayStation. It's for PC. It's not coming to Xbox. That's the deal we did. That's it. Case closed. You don't have to ask, questions, right? So what I want to ask you is, when you look at the deal with that, like this is the big deal with Microsoft and Bethesda, and we've seen this, and we've seen this before with Microsoft and Mohag. with the $2.5 billion deal. Minecraft is still on everywhere. Even Minecraft Dungeons is still everywhere because they want to make money. Why exclude it? So I want to know what your thoughts is on this Microsoft Bethesda deal, and what, I guess, they're trying to say with this case by case stuff,
Yeah.
because the wording
Yeah.
is very funny, but your
Sure.
wording was clear. So I
Well,
want to know what you
it's
think about that.
yeah, sure, man. I think it's, first of all, it's amazing. I mean, I love the team over at Bethesda. We've been working with them for years and years and years, and Todd Howard and all the different people there have been phenomenal partners. So I'm super happy for them, but also for Microsoft. I mean, the amount of amazing products, and with Arcane and id and all those different things, it's fantastic. I think the way I interpret that stuff, and I love that I now have this insight. But it's so funny because like the console wars and all this stuff is happening, and I just don't analyze it like I used to. Like I used to be like, okay, you've got to do the P&L analysis. What would that have done? And what does this make? And now I just sit back and be like, that's crazy, you know? So the way that I think that it would happen is, I don't think it's the same as when they bought like Ninja Theory and Obsidian and all that stuff. Those were about content plays, adding more content to Xbox Game Pass and to add more sort of bench strength. I think Bethesda feels strategically bigger. And I think that's why they're like, hey, listen, they have to look at each game on a case-by-case basis. I think the reason they don't want to do a whole promise is because maybe the next game from Todd, whoever knows which of the franchises, whether it's a sequel to game X, Y, or Z, maybe they want to make one of those strategically a Game Pass only game. But then other stuff they want to bring to everyone. Because the bottom line is, I think it feels to me like their goals are a little bit different than like Xbox and then PlayStations and Nintendo's, right? They're really trying to drive people towards a Game Pass subscription.
Right.
But at the same time, Bethesda has decades of experience working with all the other platforms and making awesome stuff. And so they also don't want to chop that away and peel off a lot of those fans there. So we'll see, man. It might go either way. I've seen some of the sort of Twitter chatter around like, they'll never go to any other console. And other people saying, you're a liar. It'll probably go to all the other consoles. It's also up to the other consoles of like, is it all going to work out? Are you play nice? And you're absolutely right. When Mojang got bought, it still came to all the consoles. It had already been built for all those, but you know, it continued to thrive and survive on those other ones. So, dude, I don't want to be hedge. It sounds like I'm picking sort of Switzerland, but like I think it's probably going to come. The content's going to come to other platforms on a strategic basis. So they'll probably keep back some to just draw. Boom! Could you imagine the next whatever it is, Elder Scrolls, just on Game Pass? Everyone's going to buy that, right? So they got to think strategically about a lifetime value of the players. And so when do you deploy your nuke bomb versus just keeping people happy? I mean, but that alone, we got EA passes in there. Then the Bethesda stuff's going to be in there. Like that alone just adds so much value. And what I love is people that maybe can only afford to play 2 games a year and pay $120 a year. Now, if they're paying the $10 a month, they're getting access to so much more. And I love that too. It makes it a lot more accessible for people to try different things. And that as a developer is always what your dream is. You want as many people to try your game as possible. And I think what they're doing is super smart to let more people under the rope. Yeah.
So I love this. Like, so here's my thing. I love it too. I love the fact that the barrier of entry is easy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So I love that. Now, the thing that I wanted to follow up on when it comes to that the case by case thing is that when you think about it from a standpoint, it's 2 things. So the way I look at it is, you can either spend $70 on each game or just come here, and that's the exclusive. The exclusive is the way you get the game. Like, you're not so much of you not just having this game on this platform, because Todd Howard and even Pete Hines, I believe it's Pete Hines who said it, but I think that the fact that Bethesda is still the publisher, and the fact that Phil Spencer said they're not becoming us.
Right.
Those are key words that stand out to me, being somebody that's a fan and also have insight. Like, you know,
well, the other thing on top of that is, from everyone I've talked to that have been acquired in the past, like, let's say 3 years, they're happy as clams. Like, they're literally being left alone. Matt Booty is doing a fantastic job, I think, of just giving them all their autonomy and creative freedom, you know? And so that's when we see in games like Grounded come out from Obsidian and stuff like that. To me, that's kind of like almost like an Apex Legends play of like, we were just noodling on the smaller thing and put it out there to see how it would do. And I love and respect that, because I think that's super smart. Let the teams be teams and don't try to, you know, muddy the waters and make them do stuff. And I think you're absolutely right that it's already, you know, Pete Hines is a perfect example. Todd Howard, they're fantastic examples of like, why would you give them any guidance on anything? They do awesome shit, right? So like, stand back, let them do their thing. And then you're absolutely right that that I think a lot of times when people look at, oh, this game maybe gets some map content first, or maybe I get to play early on this beta, just think about it sort of as tipping the floor a little bit, right? You're absolutely right that you're drawing people in. right? You're sort of tipping the floor so things roll towards one direction versus the other. Right. And that's a lot of times how these things work and how we got to think about it. It's not always the prettiest. People, will still sort of raise their fist and be angry about it, but that's unfortunately it works. And even though players aren't super fans of it, I mean, I think you're absolutely right that tipping it towards all this free games coming to Xbox Game Pass, it's a huge cost benefit for sure.
Yeah, so, and to me, I think that's the exclusive that they're talking about. Like, think about this. Even if the games is on another system, you have people out there that just, I'm never gonna get an Xbox because I just don't like Xbox. I'm PlayStation only. Okay, I still make money here though. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's fine.
Yeah.
And then you have those people where it's like, wait, even though I love PlayStation and $70 though, I can get all of this.
Yeah.
Look, I can't compete. They can't compete with that. I'm going. So I just think you win in every way when you do it that way. So the next question is this, right?
Sure.
What do you look for in someone that you want to hire for Iron Galaxy Studios? I think this is a very important question because I try to tell people, especially because I work with a lot of kids now, and I got the Gaming and Guidance program trying to impact communities.
That's awesome.
I'll be like, yo, thank you, bro. I'm gonna put you on to that too. We gonna talk.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I love it, man. I'm all about it.
So the thing is, I was like, yo, here's the issue when it comes to like hiring someone. I'm like, let's say you great at this, you great at that, but we go look at your Instagram or we look at what you're doing on social and you spreading a whole bunch of like hate for no reason. It's like you're great, but but who you are, I value that. So I have this thing where I say character is your currency. Nice. So like who you are is the real value, and your talent and everything else will take you even further. So what's your process like when you like looking to really hire someone to be a part of the team?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, we have a very unique culture in this industry because we don't crunch. Our motto is give us your best 40 each week. Ooh. That's it.
Yo, bro, are you serious? Yo, oh my god. Yo.
And if the 40 is like if it's odd times because you got kids, you got to take care of them and stuff like that. It's just like as long as you're putting in your best 40, that's all we ask for. And that's what our partners sort of come to expect. But so it's very different because we're not the fanciest. We don't have the biggest bonuses. We don't have the fanciest offices and all that stuff. But we advocate and every day we're thinking about how we can make life better for our team and our people. And sort of as reciprocity, all we really ask for is we're going on a journey. And so you might get to work on your dream franchise day one, right? But then you might have to work on something that maybe isn't your first pick for a couple years. Right. But what Dave and Chelsea have done a phenomenal job of doing is having everyone realize that we're in a huge dragon boat and everyone has an oar. And you might not be liking the rowing that you're doing today, but you're helping the person behind you. And as long as we're all rowing together and we all understand the overarching sort of values of the company, then I know that I might have to do stuff that I don't love today, but I probably will get to touch some dope shit tomorrow, right? So that balance is super, super important. So when we look at people, we don't want people that are hyper specialized, right? We got studios in Orlando and Chicago. So if you've been working on a franchise and you've been like the texture artist for capes or fabrics, with Franchise X for the last 10 years, we want people that have dabbled in everything, right? A lot of people are like, how big is your rendering team, or how big is your gameplay engineering team? And you're like, well, it's different because we always want people to be trying different things. So one of the other things we do is we let people sort of self-select what they're most passionate about, and they sort of do a stack ranking. And then what we try to do when we do what's called deployment, which is putting people on different projects, is we try to sort to what they're passionate about. So that way, hopefully they get to be on what they care about, but sometimes they don't always. And so, but everyone understands that's the contract here. Is it's all going in the same direction. So it's not like one project is shinier than another project. Even though there are people that are still like, I want on that. You're like, okay. A lot of these things we're going to be working with these partners for a long time or making these games for a long time. So we kind of got to balance it out. So to me, it's about resiliency. It's about, you're absolutely right. I think the thing you touched on about character is currency. I love hustle. I love creativity. I love entrepreneurship. I love people that think outside the box. I personally do an orientation meeting with every new employee the first week or two. And I do the company presentation and I talk about our values. And I purposely I open up questions and I mandate everyone has to ask me at least one question because I don't want any spring chickens just sitting there like, we got some time, let's talk. And the other thing I do is we Dave, Chelsea, and I all hold what we call open office hours. So anyone in the company can sign up to come chat with us and we could talk about anything. And so I love when people sign up for that stuff, because to me, they're like, yo, I have an opportunity, because I was given those opportunities when I was young in the industry. I'll never forget my GM of EA Canada. I was 20 years old, and he tapped me on the shoulder one day, and he was the GM of the studio of EA Canada. And he said, hey, I want to know more about QA. Come up to my office. And me and this other guy, Steve, put together a presentation for him. We had the greatest chat for an hour. He's like, hey, why don't we do this every few months? And I was like, how was I chosen? And then he started flipping me Vancouver Grizzlies tickets. He's like, yo, EA has like front row tickets. And so we got to see Big Country sink those, sink those free throws.
Big Country.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
So he believed in us, and he was able to outreach. So the way that I think about that now is, how do we pay that forward? How do we ensure that people that are young and coming up and trying new things, that we're giving them the same time that I got? Not everyone gets that. Very few people get that. So how can we replicate that? And even in COVID, it's even more challenging and difficult. But I've been hosting lunches, just one-on-one socially distanced lunches with a bunch of our team members in our backyard, just to sort of talk about stuff for a couple hours and see how they're doing, because mental health is such an important issue right now, making sure people feel balanced. And we also do sort of sessions with team members and give them numbers of different, the benefits provides, like therapy numbers and stuff like that for people to reach out to, because we're all going through shit. It's really hard. And we're blessed to be in this industry, because it's phenomenal. Like, people are spending money, but it's not necessarily making everything better, because the world around us is really, really, it's like what I think the quote last night, it was like a dumpster fire in a burning bridge in a fiery train kind of thing. So we need to take that. We can't just feel like our industry's blessed, so we're good. We're not good. We need to make sure we're supporting each other. And so a lot of that stuff, when we look at people, is not only just your resiliency, but also, are you willing to ask for help? Because we're willing to provide it, right? So that holistic approach to, a lot of us have been burned through our industry, or treated poorly, or we're forced to crunch, and we just have a zero tolerance for it. Like, we don't put that on anyone, because it's just not good for your soul, right?
Wow, yo, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Before we get to the next question,
Mm-hmm.
I love you again, bro. I'm giving you a hug right now. Yo, listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something real quick, man. Every E3, whenever I get a chance to run into Adam Boys, the energy is just different. Like, you don't understand. Like, wherever I go, you know how I get, whether we at Michael Packers party or something like that. When I come around, everything different. All the suits and stuff, everything changed. When I show
so
up,
true.
the love and the energy, you gonna feel the energy here. But when me personally, when I see you, Adam, and we no matter where it's at, man, I'm even more of who I am.
That's awesome. Cool.
Thank you so much, bro.
Sure.
So now I just want to throw this out there. Have you ever, like, we heard talks about crunch with different companies.
Yeah.
The latest company we got right now is CD Projekt Red.
I just saw the headline last night. Crazy.
As amazing as they are in order to tell us stuff, have you ever, or are y'all willing to ever be like, you know what? We could help in this area, and then not just wait for somebody to come to y'all. But have y'all ever reached out and be like, yo, y'all don't have to go to that. We got a great team. They love what you're doing. Like, can we help in any way? You know what I mean? Have you ever done that or attempted that before?
No, that's a great question. Dave's a pretty humble guy from humble beginnings. I say humble guy, even though he's had some awesome Giant Bomb appearances. But realistically, like, he's got a heart of gold. And so the way we kind of look at it, it's kind of like when we're working with a partner, and maybe there's something that happens in the news about that partner, right? Our job is to shield our people from and try to make them have an awesome, comfortable workplace as much as we can. The thing that we have been doing a lot more, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but maybe I could send you some links to tweet out, that Chelsea Blasko, our CEO, has been doing a lot of interviews talking about work-life balance and the sort of counter crunch philosophy. Dude, I think the challenge is that it's built into the culture at every level of the company. So I can say, and here's the thing why I know a lot about this, and David Chelsea too, is we were part of the problem. Like, I was a lead, and I was a prick to my team if they were like, one guy's like, oh, I got it, my girlfriend is just after. I'm like, what are you, a part-timer? Come on. Like, we're here, dude. Why are you leaving so early? Like, so it's not about the bosses mandating it. I mean, that is, I love to CD Projekt. I can't wait for that game. But mandating crunch, because what you're doing is, it means that you're behind. is it means that some people that signed off for to deliver things in a certain time frame are behind on those deliverables.
Right.
But guess what? There's a bunch of people that have been busting their ass and have never asked for anything more. So what you do when you mandate crunch is you're punishing your best performers, because they're going to see that email and they're going to feel like, I'm not doing enough. I've been here. You never asked me to do 7 days a week, but I've been doing it. And now I have to. Like, I was doing it out of the love of the game. And now you're making me do it because why? Because some chuckleheads on the lower end maybe weren't pulling their weight. I'm not saying anyone,
no, I understand.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to disparage anyone at all, but like that, you don't get, if you ask for that 6th day, you don't get 8 hours of productivity. Maybe you get 3 or 4, right? So it's so much better to prepare everyone at the start. And then what we do now, we used to wait until the end of a project. Then we would do a postmortem. Then we would fix all our mistakes. One of my other favorite Dave quotes is he said, you don't get good by making games. You get good by shipping games. Because that's when you pay for the sins of development. Right.
Oh,
and
yo.
So
well, hold on.
You got to make sure you attribute them to him.
On that, son. Oh, man. Go ahead,
but it's so true, because like when you ship the game, that's when everything comes to fruition. That's when you're like, oh, I got to crunch because I got to do this or that. And that's when all the mistakes come out. So if you aren't doing like a retrospective on a rolling basis and paying for your sins on a weekly or every 2 week or every 4 week basis, those sins pile up to this massive insurmountable task at the end that then management goes, well, we have to hit our dates, right? Yeah. Like you and I would wait 2 months for that game, 4 months, bro, like Blizzard, right? It's coming.
Yeah.
Just like when Naughty Dog did it. I'm like, oh wait, what it was, 4 weeks, 6 weeks? It doesn't matter. I just want a fantastic experience day one, and I will wait if the people are treated properly. So,
I love it, man.
So we don't reach out. It's not our duty. It's really tough because like, it's not our job. We're here. If you want to know how we do it, like Chelsea's, I want to line her up, for a GDC talk to talk about how we approach it. But it's also about, we're an external company, so we're allowed to set our standards very high. And then when partners, and they actually don't. They used to. You got to work weekends on this deal. We're like, nope. You got to work till midnight. Nope. Or what we'll do is we'll negotiate with some of our team members. I'm like, how are you okay with doing split shifts where you're doing, instead of working from, let's say 10 to 6, you're going from 2 p.m. to 10, right? And some people say yes, but we never, like, dude, we don't do that. We just don't. So it's all about setting those standards and then holding it to them and never, ever letting them go. And if you do need to break those things, then you're breaking your values, and you better be hiring people to offset that challenge or that sort of oversight you're making, or redo your sort of production pipeline and processes. So I wish more people reached out to find out more. I wish in general there's more collaboration. I think the problem we have right now with our industry is everyone has to sort of genericize and make their talks vanilla for GDCs and stuff like that, because it has to be for students, for teachers, for indie gamers, for single A, double A, triple A, and I guess now there's a quadruple A. Come on. Anyway, there's it's different strokes for different folks. And from our perspective, the other thing I've noticed is we have a lot of newer people that have joined that this is their first job in the industry, and they're like, you guys talk about this no crunch thing a lot. It seems weird. It seems like you guys are creepy old people that you keep talking about it. And then you start to realize, oh, if they've never been through it, how can you understand how much it hurt us? So we do have to sort of ratchet down a little bit of the way that we talk about it, because it doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. It means some to, I've been around for 25 years in the games industry because I not only received it, but I also managed and pushed people, and I put the guilt on. And I was a bad young manager, right? Because I was just like, guilt. And now when you can take a step back, I'm like, wait, we can make a difference. We can make a change. Then you just become proud of your little town you've built, right? In our galaxy, and hope other people come along for the ride. But man, it's heartbreaking every time I see an article about that kind of stuff. Because I know you think about the family with a newborn. You think about that person that just lost a family member, and you just, all they need is balance. They need time off, and man, when they don't get that, I think it's pretty tragic.
Yo, Adam, man, what I love about this particular interview right now is how it's going to help people. So just to let you know, every interview that I do, I always talk about everything. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Because I utilize this information to show other people as inspiration. That look,
Awesome.
nobody's perfect. We all
Yeah.
has like a starting, but you don't have to stay there. There's always room for growth. And when you surround yourself with the right people. So I'm gonna tell you something real quick before I go to the next question.
Yeah.
So Eminem, right? Eminem and Akon, this song that they did, Smack That.
Yeah.
So Akon, just like everybody else pretty much in the studio, they work all day, all night. They don't even be with their families. They do this because they just trying to work so hard to provide. So it's like a catch 22.
Mm-hmm.
So Eminem, one of the biggest artists in the world. Like, you know what I'm saying? Eminem, when he did his studio session with Akon, Eminem goes in 9 to 5. At 12 o'clock, he takes lunch and goes home. And then Akon was like, what? Like, he never seen an artist, especially an artist of that caliber, work like a regular 9 to 5 job. He treats it like a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
And then Akon asked him out, like, yo, what's up? Like, because, we could be in the studio all night and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, nah, I don't allow my job to rule me. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. You see where I'm at. But I don't allow it to rule me. I do my job. I come home.
Yeah. You work to live. You don't. Yeah. You work to live. You don't live to work. Right.
Exactly. So when that was said and somebody like that said that, and then hearing you speak and your credibility and your dominance in this industry, it is just fulfilling. It's an honor, and I love you for it, man. So next question, bro. Next question.
Yeah.
So all the developers is going crazy over PlayStation 5. We gotta talk about this. We gonna be going all in right now.
All right.
So all the developers going crazy over PlayStation 5. Tim Sweeney going crazy. The SSD, the Unreal 5 demo was out of this world. Like all these things, right? So my question to you is, what is your personal impressions of the PS5 so far, based off what you saw and based off things that you know in terms of the development environment around the PlayStation 5? What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you kind of think about everything we have to do in developing games is all about limits and boundaries, right? It's like, okay, you can only go this fast, and this is the kind of roadway that we're going to go on this freeway and stuff like that. And what I love about this next gen is it's basically peeling off all that shit and being like, hey, listen, sky's the limit. And then you just burn it and you go, okay, where's the new top, right? And the top is a lot higher than I think all of us ever thought it would be. Wow. But to me, I think the real thing that completely changes it. It's funny, I've been playing a ton of Spelunky too. And I'm like, why is there still like a 2-minute load time before I get to the game? And so the idea of games just being instantaneous, that being like less than sort of 20 seconds, 10 seconds, is to me, like, we could talk about 4K, we can talk about ray tracing, we could talk about a lot of the sort of cool features. But to me, the game changer is never waiting. I mean, we already, like, a commercial comes on, I got my phone up, I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered with this commercial. My kids, it's so funny. We got, YouTube TV. That's all we have for cable at home. And they're like, and I'm always like trying to find sort of videos on demand so we can just skip through the commercials. And they're like, we love the commercials. We've never seen them in our lives. And I'm like, that's crazy, because I hate them, because I've only been trying to avoid them my whole life. To them, they're like, tell me more about this product. I'm like, that's wild to think about it. So when we're so programmed to just wanting to get to the next thing, and that's what I think the real game changer. I think if people are just looking for more pixels or any of that stuff, I think they're sort of losing the plot a bit. To me, it's about that fast delivery. The cross-platform stuff, I think, is super impressive too. If I've already bought a game and all of a sudden I get it somewhere else, that stuff's cool. So to me, it's really about higher boundaries, less constraints, because the less time we're focusing on the speed bumps and the speed limits, the more we're just focusing on raw horsepower and putting awesome content into the game. And so that's been the most exciting from our perspective, just being able to put more shit in the bag.
Yeah. And just do
and then, like I said, what Dave said, then when you got to submit and ship it, then you pay for your sins of like, oh, we went a little bit too far here. or if you're doing sort of cross-generational products of like, how do you, when do you turn it all the way up? Usually we like to turn it all up and then dial it back for the previous gen. But it's just a lot easier and more fun when you don't have to worry about all those constraints out the gate.
Wow. Now, when you say worry about all those constraints, right? Because I have another question for you,
sure.
But just to follow up with that, like, a lot of talk, especially maybe like a month or two ago, especially after Halo was shown, everybody's like, yo, leave the Xbox One alone, because it's like hurting what we want to see with the One X and all this marketing about power and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
and we ain't seeing it. Like especially with what they show with Halo, right? And then
Yeah.
when you saw a PlayStation, it's like, yo, Spider-Man look like what? Like how do they do that? And then
Yeah.
Horizon and they show all this other stuff. So
Yeah.
my thing to you is it true or is there something to it when it comes to having to develop for all these platforms instead of just being able to focus directly on one platform to maximize its capabilities?
Here's the thing, and I believe this even though, of course, as I worked at PlayStation, you got to sort of like ring all the bells and all that stuff about what's important. But the bottom line is when you put this in your hand, what does it feel like? That's all I give a shit about. As a gamer,
Yeah.
as a player, and as a developer. And it's something the thing when I go back to the roots of like where that comes from. When I joined Midway, I got to work with some of the gods of arcades, right? Like George Gomez, who made Spy Hunter, Ed Boon, who made Mortal Kombat and Smash TV, and Mark Trammell, who made Jam and Sal Davida and stuff like that. And what they taught us is it's all about the moment to moment. And they also taught us about the next quarter, right? But the moment to moment, and the game should be playable every day. And so I know we love to talk about the visual fidelity, but if it doesn't feel crispy, if that controller doesn't feel phenomenal, to me, that's the biggest thing. So when I see people complaining about what a game looks like or why did they put that, that character model in, I'm like, what does it play like? And I think the problem is we're so indoctrinated to have to watch something that we can't touch for years, and then our mind just goes like this, and we are now like, dude, remember how many hours was it until Apex was announced and playable, right? It was like less than 2 days. And so I think we have to be more patient, and of course we're an impatient society, but that balance I think is really, really important. So I think games will look phenomenal, but if they don't feel crispy, and that's what I love about PlayStation, the first party teams, they do both, right? It looks outstanding, it feels incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so to me, it's always been about gameplay first, and it always will be. And that's to me where the sort of like loading speeds just being out the window is fantastic, because now I get to play more often, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a big question for you, right? And so I'm gonna give you the context of all of this so you can understand why this question is so important, right? Okay. So after this, the interview that we're doing now, I'm going to broadcast it live for people to watch and enjoy and stuff like that, right? But right after this video, I have another video I'm gonna do detailing backwards compatibility, right?
Cool.
So January 1st of this year, like this, I can't disclose sources obviously, but I was shown something, and this is a story I've been working on since like 2018, like what I'm saying, and it dealt with PlayStation 5 being able to play PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games, like all the generations, right? Mm-hmm. So, Jim Ryan, they recently did an interview with him saying that the backwards compatibility didn't go back that far. But they did say that PS Now, they doubling down on, they doing all this other stuff. They revamped it, like it's a whole new thing. It's crazy like that. And this is what I'm talking about, like the new way of doing backwards compatibility via cloud computing. So shout out to David Perry, because he has spoke about it. Remember when he was on stage, he was like, the technology is so advanced that we'll be able to get PS1, 2, and 3, and then PS in store, you can play everything and everything everywhere, all this other stuff. So that's the context of the question that I want to ask you. So what I want to ask you is this, because I know you've been with PlayStation. Do you know for your own self, or has that been a thing that y'all tried to work on, like years ago, by utilizing the cloud to play the older games, because it already plays PS3, plays PS2, and from what I was told and shown, PS1 is coming, and those games will, the download button is supposed to be unlocked for the next generation, so you actually download those too. What I want my question to you is, what are your thoughts on PS Now backwards compatibility with PlayStation 5, and do you have anything to say about the context that I just broke down in terms of gamers being able to play all their PlayStation, like PS1, all the generations on the PS5 via cloud computing?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's a really interesting topic, because I think people just assume that if you just can switch a button, Like, you know, when you make a game for Unity or Unreal and you just hit compile to and you choose in console, right? Xbox from the get-go, from the very first original Xbox, I think we can't call it. We got to call it the original, the OG, right? To 360, to One, and to the Series X and S. They've all been PC architecture. So they were all PCs in a box. If we look at the origin of PlayStation, PS1 to PS2 to specifically PS3, they were fundamentally different pieces and parts, and were not built. They were built from a consumer electronics company, right? Sony Corp, with PlayStation obviously being that brand. And so I think one of the things that people just assume is like click a button and every old stuff will work. Well, all of those different consoles had a bunch of proprietary technology. So to me, if I'm looking at the feature set of a platform, I go, okay, I have a million hours of development to assign to different tasks and different features. All right. To replicate all the hardware from all those three things, it's going to take, let's say, whatever, I'm oversimplifying it. Internet's going to freak out. Let's say we have to apply 5% of the overall sort of course, it's not that, it's smaller, but let's say I have to do 5% of all of those sort of hours of R&D to build that functionality into the console. Or I can use that same 5% of people and R&D research to do new stuff, right? And when I have PlayStation Now, that does sort of support that old stuff. So when I do that math, I go, the future's awesome. And besides, when I play the older games, I don't know about you, but even when the classic stuff comes out for Nintendo on my Switch, like Kid Icarus, however you pronounce it, like that was one of my favorite gems back in the day. That game is hot trash. Like the OG version now is so hard and so awful that I don't even like playing it. And that's one of the things when I went to Capcom, right? I was lucky enough to be there and run a lot of the Street Fighter HE Remix project and Puzzle Fighter Remix and be there for Bionic Commando Rearmed. And so, because when we went back and we played the OGs, they didn't hold up. So there's a part of our brain that goes, I want all these things, right? I want. It's kind of like when you like go back to your mom's house after you've been living out for 15 years. And you're like, oh man, my mom's meatloaf was the best. And you're like, it's not as good as I remember, right? That's, I think, what people get. They get caught up in, I want this stuff. But then when it's given to them, then they go like Crash Bandicoot is a fantastic example. Like when you play the OG stuff versus the new remastered stuff, it's night and day. Yeah, and so that's kind of how I feel about a lot of stuff. Like, you know, could make everything work for everything, but I'd rather focus on the future stuff and let technology like streaming tech, like PlayStation Now, be able to just handle that stuff out the gate. And then that way the new R&D efforts are being put into what does heaven look like in the future,
right? Versus
how can we bring these games back? Then when we get back, I'm like, no, man, give me FF7 remastered. The OG one was classic, but like this new stuff to me. So I think a lot of people see remasters as like another bite at the apple. I don't. I see them as like, it's like you remember the Mona Lisa, but when you go up close, it's kind of blurry and stuff like that. So let's sort of recreate the essence of what that original game idea was and bring it to the next generation of players with more features too, right? Like I remember when we added in Puzzle Fighter HD Remix, we added, leaderboards and all the stuff that the original game didn't have. And that's the kind of stuff that I really like to focus on, is like, how do we make the old games feel new and fresh for a new generation? Because even my kids, they do get used to like the Minecraft graphics, but at the same time, you put an 8-bit or 16-bit game in front of them, they're like, right? Whereas if you put something that's more flashy and feels crisper because we've upgraded the controls, it's a better outcome for them.
Got you. So now I have another question. This is crazy. So,
okay.
Have you? It's two-parter though.
Sure.
To follow up with the backwards compatibility, right?
Yeah.
When they added the download button so you could download the PlayStation 4 games, and you could also download the PlayStation 2 games, and you play them in 1080p and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The older games, just like how on Xbox, how the older games look a lot better, like because they went in there and did some different
they use
things.
Filters. Yep.
Yeah, like looking at Red Dead Redemption in 4K is whoa, like it's like a whole new experience, even though it's an older game. So in terms of that, and the second part of the question is, have you started working, or have your team started working on PS5 games or Xbox Series X games like yourself? And if so, what can fans expect in terms of like the difference in generation, like that leap, not just speed, but just overall sheer quality.
Yeah.
What you can expect going into the next generation is forget the old.
Yeah.
This is gonna be it. And
Sure.
the other part was, do you think the download button will open up for the PS1 and the PS3 as well with the PS5, like how they did with PS4 and PS2?
Yeah, I think it's all about sort of what software filters they can add to allow those games to look more crisp and look sort of more fresh. And I think I have no idea what the plan is there, but I always appreciate that when they do the filters and make it look like, oh, the frame rate seems higher. They're doing sort of CPU boosts and stuff like that. On the other side of things, we have dev kits from both sides. We're working on a bunch of different products. That's about the end of where I can go, but I can tell you, if you want any teasers, just listen to the Daft Punk song, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. And it's all those things, right? It's just everything it's harder to make games. The games are better, they're faster, they're stronger. It really goes back to load times, dude. That's been the thing that has been transformative for us, of like even compile times, dev time, like it's just uptime of the games and stuff like that. The back end systems are so, if we think about PS4, that was really PlayStation's first online generation, right? PS3 had it, but it was like plug in the back, and remember the first PSN store, right? We all have memories. Whereas Xbox 360, they always thought about that sort of games as a service online stuff. So if you think about in their category, they're Gen 3 of the online ecosystem. PlayStation is sort of Gen 2.5, let's say, of the online ecosystem. So the tools and tech, all the stuff that they've provided us is just fucking far and away way better than it's ever been, because they had the whole last generation to fix and improve and evolve back-end tool sets. And so now everyone's been trained for basically now 8 years to just know exactly where all the things are hidden. And so it's just easier to get to the raw horsepower, piling that in the engine, versus now we're netting out, we got to reduce the number of polygons, stuff like that. So to us, it's been very sort of promising to just be less constrained.
Wow. Yo, I can't wait to see what you working on, bro. I can't wait, man. Yo, like, I'm telling you right now, like, Sony better start talking, bro. Like, because, like, it's like
they're going to. Of course they will, man. Come on.
But November 12th is the day everybody's starving. I can't wait, bro. I cannot wait.
I'll be in line. Waiting to buy mine day one.
Yo, I'm so hyped. So now let me ask you this, right?
Yeah.
There was talks of, I'm just throwing this out there, but there was talks of the Nintendo Switch Pro. Is there anything you can say regarding Nintendo Switch and what their future looks like, especially with PlayStation 5 coming and Series X coming and things of that nature?
Of course I can't. The way that it's like, whenever people go like, do you think there's gonna be a sequel to this successful franchise? Probably, right? I mean, every company is sort of built for success for the future. So when we look at the future, there's been a sequel since NES. There's been a sequel since PS1 and since the OG Xbox. So, it doesn't take a rocket science to be like, there's probably new stuff coming down the road. But dude, of course I can't talk about any secret shit. Come on now.
Look, I had to.
You can't Brian Crescente me.
I had to do it because the fans, man, they be serious.
No, I know, of course.
So, I got to do my part for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's probably also going to be another Call of Duty. There's probably also going to be another Skyrim, and there's all these other things, right? So, of course, anything successful.
So now, the coming back to the hip hop question that I told you about earlier, right?
Sure.
So with the hip hop question, I just got off the phone yesterday with Eric Sermon.
Oh shit! Holy shit!
Eric Sermon, that's my bro. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So listen, like, Eric Sermon is all in with like wanting to do Death Squad gaming, all this other stuff. He's ready to make things happen, right?
Nice.
So with the conversation that we had and stuff like that, I gotta ask you on camera, man. Like, if there was a way, like, you know what I mean? If there's a way where like Iron Galaxy and you can have an opportunity to work with like Eric Sermon and do like a lot of major things, like his kids game, but he's Eric Sermon, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, would you do it? Like, what would it take to get Adam Boys and Eric Sermon together, bro? Like, to do something, man.
Dude, we'll talk to anyone about anything. I mean, the bottom line is like, fighting games, melee games, like combat games are in our blood. It's in our DNA, right? We worked, a lot of the OG team sort of worked on Mortal Kombat. We did Street Fighter. Third Strike, and then on to Killer Instinct and Dive Kick. It's in our blood. We love it very passionately. So of course we love to talk about it. And of course, a ton of us love hip hop and that sort of lifestyle. And actually, Chelsea, our COO, worked on a bunch of the Def Jam games when she was at EA Chicago. So she has many stories. Yeah.
Yo, wait, hold up.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you this. I need Chelsea on
Yep.
my. Yo, listen. I'm gonna tell you
Absolutely.
right now. I have
Absolutely.
a brand new Def Jam show
Okay.
coming out. I can't say nothing more, but I got a brand new
Yeah.
Def Jam show.
Well, she can break NDA because she doesn't work at EA anymore. So she's got fucking stories for days, dude.
Oh,
for
bro.
days.
So look, listen. I gotta have her on
Yeah.
the launch of the Def Jam show.
Absolutely.
And please, bro.
Yeah.
Because like the way we got
Totally.
it lined up, I can't say everything.
Yeah.
But bro, we got some people lined up for the launch of it. It'll be an
Yeah.
honor to have her.
Totally.
We're gonna have. Cause I'm gonna be playing the game too.
Nice.
We're gonna talk.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk. Oh,
Totally.
man. So,
Yeah.
bro, I'm gonna tell you right
Set
now.
up the call, man. I can zoom later tonight. When does Eric want to talk? Right? Let's.
Yo, let's do it. Yo, listen, I'm serious. I'm
Dude,
serious.
I'm too, man. We love this shit. It's like literally. I mean, we always got to worry about like when is the team available and stuff like that. But man, this is to me one of the freedoms of being an independent studio is you can have conversation with anyone at all times. It all then comes down to, hey, the idea is fantastic. Who's going to pay the bills, right? And that's always the challenge in the end. But dude, I love to talk about it because man, it would be a bunch of my dreams come true.
Yo, yeah, definitely. We could definitely make that happen. So the last question that I have for you today, man, is, and I like to ask everybody this. What was a moment in your life when you felt at your lowest and things couldn't get any worse, but you managed to find strength in that moment that allowed you to be successful today?
What a fuck. That's an amazing question, dude. That's actually during when I do interviews for people, one of the questions I ask is what's the biggest failure in your career? And I love this question. So it was, I left Capcom in, I think it was when I leave Capcom, 2010. And I started my own company called Beefy Media. And the idea there was I was running a video game production company. So I was going out and I worked with a bunch of different IP holders. We did a bunch of like Rocky and RoboCop, like different things for Xbox Live. And then I made a Sour Patch Kids video game with Kraft Foods. And I remember to this day because I'd been out on my own for a year. My daughter was 2 years old. And I got a phone call from Kraft. They got a build of the game. It was the alpha build. And they have no idea how to make games. And I know that alpha means that everything's done, but it looks like shit. It's like when you drive by a house and you just see the wood up, and you're like, they're not even done. And you're like, no, actually, that's the hard part, right? Putting the structure up and making sure sort of everything's first pass, and you can still see the pipes in the walls. So they called me up and said, this is the worst thing we've ever seen, and I think we're going to terminate the relationship. And I was downtown. I had just done an interview with Greg Miller when he was at IGN. I was in my car, sitting in my car out front of his office, and my heart just dropped because I thought about my family. I thought about losing everything. I thought about the bills that weren't going to be paid. I thought about my 2-year-old daughter, right? Everything just kind of came crashing down on me. And I was like, okay, this is your company. How do you fix this? And so what I did is I called them up the next day and I said, we're bringing in 5 external consultants that are going to audit every part of this game and are going to submit a report to you within 7 days. And I'm going to show you how we're going to get back from this alpha low point. Now, for game developers, alpha is janky as shit. It's awful. But what I didn't do properly in the prep to sort of having them fund the game is I never talked to them and build the context for what to expect with alpha. So I failed to set expectations. So they were ready to kill the deal. And I had never felt, I went home and I was just shaking the whole drive home, just shaking, because I was living in the East Bay at the time, just shaking on the drive home. And I went in and I didn't even tell my wife. I was like, I can't even face her because this is everything. This is our mortgage. Like I had a bunch of contractors working for me. And so I felt like it was the lowest part of my career because I was like, I left everything behind. I worked at Capcom and Midway and all those things. And I'm trying this on my own. I'm trying to do my hustle, but I just got called out. And so brought in all these external consultants. They did their audits and then I gave it all. And I basically looped in the craft management team to be able to see all that stuff. And they saw that, okay, there's some challenges, but also the best part is our product development plan had all those problems solved in a 2-month period. Because when you get to beta,
Yeah.
right? The alpha problems are fixed. So they said, okay, we'll put you on basically like a suspended expansion. Well, we'll just like go the next 2 months. But if by beta all this stuff is sorted out, then we're done. So I fell on the brought in the external people, paid them out of my own pocket to basically audit the project and made sure that they were independent. So Kraft saw the reports. And then we got back to it. And so at the end of the beta, they loved it. They're like, holy shit, this is over the moon. You know, we got Creed from The Office to voice the sort of, we got Method Man to do a whole music video for the Sour Patch Kids video game.
Wow.
Anyway, so we came back from it. But that day, in that moment, when I felt the lowest, one of the things when I went to PlayStation is I had a pact to myself that I would never let any publisher treat any developer the way that I was treated that day. And so I made it my mission to ensure that no matter what happened with it, whether it's every contract I ever do or every publisher, irony is one of the publishers had treated me at my independent company not that well. They basically yanked a project for me right at the end. And so Smash cut to 6 months later, and I'm sitting down with their executive team to introduce myself as head of third party. And I go, I'd like to talk to you about how you treat independent developers, right? Because again, I wanted to ensure that the entirety of the industry was nobody should ever have to go through that. And so that was the lowest point and how I sort of redeemed of coming back. Because when you hit that low as an independent studio or as an independent person or as an entrepreneur, it's kind of like when you have kids, other people can be like, I know what it feels like. And you're like, I mean, you don't.
No, you don't.
Much like when you're running your own company and things look like they're at the end, there is no other feeling like that. And so I didn't ever want people to have to go through that because it was so painful for me.
Bro, you know what? I gotta clap it up for you, bro. Yo, Adam, like you already know this, man, but you wanted the realest, man. Period.
Thanks,
in
dude.
the industry, you wanted the realest, like ever.
Appreciate it.
Like for real. And after this interview, I got to know even more about you. Like you know what I'm saying? That right there is crazy. Like like cause I didn't know all of that. Like that last part, I didn't know all of that. So I'll share something real quick, and then
I want to hear yours though.
Then we could roll out. But
yeah,
I almost stopped doing like my career, like HipHopGamer. And so from a career standpoint, I was done.
When was that?
When my grandmother died. So, peep this, right? In 2008, that's when I got discovered by Torrance Davis. Shout out to Torrance. But I got discovered by him, and I'm all excited. I'm going crazy. But keep in mind, my grandmother taught me how to play games, and she didn't just teach me how to play games in terms of like get out of my way, get out of my hair, go play some games. She taught me about video games and paralleled it to life. And so in video games, you got levels, you got obstacles, you got challenges, and all these things that you got to overcome. So she said, your energy towards these games, if you apply that towards life, you will win. So, so she actually, my grandmother, like between church, putting God first in everything that I do, and my work ethic and my willingness to win and everything. Yeah. She made the parallel of video games.
That's
and
awesome.
Life.
That's so smart.
As I got older, I started to see what she did when I was younger. And I was like, this is mind blowing. So I do the same thing for my son.
She bent the spoon for you, right? Yeah.
Bro, it was crazy.
Totally.
So then when it came to everything that I was doing in gaming, it all stemmed from her. Everything.
That's cool.
So she passed away in 2010. And I remember the first time I told her I was going to E3, it was the first time I was ever, like leaving to go out of state, like, like that, you know what I'm saying? Like on the West Coast. So I told my grandma all this, we having a good time. And then when that day came, when she passed away, you got to think about it. I held her hand while she took her last breath. I felt her body turn cold. Like I was the last person she saw. Like all these things happened. So when that happened, that was it. Like it was like for 2 weeks, I didn't want to do nothing. In gaming, nothing. Yeah. And then, I had, how you have those like epiphanies or those moments where you look in the mirror and you see yourself. So imagine looking in the mirror and not liking what you see. Like for real, like you got to like really face yourself. Cause I was giving up everything that she fought for.
Right. She was the one that built you
so
up.
I was
Yeah.
being selfish
Mm-hmm.
by not continuing because of
Yeah.
how I personally felt.
Right.
And if you give up, that's the only time you can ever lose.
Yeah.
You can always learn and grow and win, but
Yeah.
the only way you lose is when you stop.
Yeah.
And when I had that moment, and then I'm talking to my sister, talking to my cousins, like other family members in my life that's like real close to me, and they helped me through it.
Yeah.
And after that moment, I literally started a whole nother process of
Yeah.
like becoming better than ever. And
Sure.
bro, from that point on to this day in 2020, that was 10 years ago.
That's
In
wild, man.
2020, I'm able to say,
Because I feel like I've known you for 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
Because I think I saw you at your first E3, dude. It was
Yeah, in
wild.
2008.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
thing is, like, when I think about where I'm at today, being able
Yeah.
to sit down and speak with you, bro, like, I'm humbled and thankful. So that's why my mission is to show people that, hey, look, we work, we do a lot of stuff, we have fun,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, character is your currency. And when
Absolutely.
when you understand the true value in life is who
Yeah.
you are and how you allow like God to order your steps to do
Yeah.
what's right, even in the face of all the ignorance that's going on in the world.
Yeah. Man, you
That's
got to keep your
hard.
head up.
You
Yeah.
got exactly,
Yeah.
Tupac. You gotta keep your head up. So yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's fixed mindset. You transition in that moment from fixed mindset where you felt like she was your fuel to
Yes.
growth mindset, which is this is for me, right?
Yeah.
And that I think there's not enough people on this planet that think about growth mindset of like, I want to fail, I want to get up, I want to learn, and I want to get better. And just that iterative process of trying some stuff. You see a guitar in my background. I've just been messing around. I'm 43. What am I doing trying to learn the guitar? I want to try new shit. I want to try new stuff, and that's, you're absolutely right, man. Big ups to you, because that's a huge thing to have to go through. And also being able to have that sort of like, I call it the alpha brain that kicks in, is like, dude, you got to keep cruising, because from that moment, right, that beefy media moment where the company almost went under, and then smash cut to a year and a half later, I'm at PlayStation, like at the PS4 announcement, like doing a sharing video. Like that's the wildest sort of thing. And you're absolutely right. Even when I got the job at PlayStation, like I was not the right guy. Like if you kind of look at archetypally who are the people for the platforms, when I applied, it was kind of like they've always treated me like crap. But like it's one of those things where it's a piece of luck, right? It's a piece of serendipity, and it's a piece of hustle. And when all those things sort of align together, and of course hard work and dedication, I think that's really super important. Resiliency is part of that too, that I talked about earlier. But once you put all those things together, you just keep trying, and you got to pick yourself up and learn and grow. And so much love to you for doing that and keeping your hustle on, because dude, you're everywhere. You're worldwide.
Thank you, man. There's so much more to come. So look,
Cool.
y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed this interview. This is crazy. I have a lot more information to share with y'all with a follow-up video literally right after this. So this is a big episode tonight. So God bless y'all. Thank y'all. Yo, Adam, is there anything you want to say to your fans before you get out of here, bro?
Keep gaming, keep your head up, and hug the people that you love, because life's too short. Keep playing awesome stuff, and be supportive. Show someone right now, get on Twitter, your social media, whatever it is, and show someone some love, because we need more positivity in this world.
Yo, God bless, man. On that note, it's the one and only HipHopGamer, Logitech G, on your Hot 97 every day. That's my word. And we are out of here. Peace.